They say this is a big rich town. I just come from the poorest part. Bright light city life.
To this day, I've been lucky to travel to Namibia 3 times. And while all those trips were work-related trips, I feel like I had a little bit of a chance to navigate what life for a local Namibian looks like. So I guess I would be able to say that I've scratched the surface of what that looks like. Namibia is often known for its rich culture, its history, its landscapes, so that is also to do with deserts, wildlife, and what I personally find very fascinating is the vast open spaces, how you're able to travel for hundreds of kilometers without seeing a person or housing. Honestly, if you've lived or you've traveled to different African countries, at least what my impression was that it was very unique and very different. I like to relate this to the low population density that Namibia has. Some literature reports 3.6 people per kilometer square, so I want to believe that it still lies between 3 and 4. But this is very small when you compare it to, at least in my personal experience, other countries that I've traveled to in the sub-Saharan African region. Beyond that, Namibia is also a rapidly urbanizing country. So what that looks like is access to water, access to food, access to energy, access to work, which again, employment is a very challenging issue in Namibia. But beyond these modern cities and sleek cities such as Windhoek, the clean streets, the safe traffic and infrastructure, there's also another growing reality. As of 2022, 41% of Namibia's population lived in informal settlements. The word I hear commonly is townships when I'm in Namibia. This number, the 41%, has been rising steadily since 2016. Now, while this describes systems, systems are experiences lived by individuals every single day. So while we look at the statistics and we can easily narrow it down to a crisis, which of course it is, there are people behind these numbers. There are people behind these systems. People who are trying to build lives, find community, but also navigate the reality of this every single day. To understand what this really means, today I'm talking to Kali, who is a taxi driver in Windhoek.
Yes, yeah, my name is Kali Rodrigue, so I'm from the northern part. So 700 miles from here, small place called Rundu. So I moved here to Windhoek in search of green pasture, just like any other people in the rest of the world. You know, like we always move to the city, so this is where we think better opportunities are being found. So I found myself here in Windhoek. So actually, I have 4 siblings. So on my dad's side, I'm the firstborn. So and then on my mom's side, so we are 3. So and I'm the lastborn. Windhoek is the capital city of Namibia. So now, here in Windhoek, so rent is a bit much more expensive. So I live in the township. So that's where at least I can afford. Currently, I'm paying 600. So that, so 600 is for the rent. So now then you have to top up another $60 for water. My education level, so I went till up to the university. So I was doing criminal law. With taxi driver, it's very tough, it's very tricky. So whereby your hard works determines your salary. So the more you work hard, so the more you are also generating money. So now when somebody, that's a nice question. So when we hear about Europe, so we think like, you know, like this is a melting pot, you know, like no suffering, you know, like guys are always getting it much more easier, you know, like, yeah, so that's the impression we have of Europe. We always think like, so they have access to water, they have access to clean water, so electricity, better housing, like that's Europe, that's the picture we have of it. I think both water and food, that's the most challenging part. So now with water, so in the township where we are living, so the municipality of Windhoek decided to give us these taps. So now then you must get a card, you recharge it with money, so that which will access you to get water from the tap. So there are times whereby even like this main tap is broken, so and then you have to move to the next one. So there are times like all the taps are not working, so then you have to move or travel a longer distance to go get water. So this water, like we use it for cooking, doing our laundry. Monthly, so I would say like I spend around about 800 for electricity. So mostly in our township, like electricity, we only use it for lighting. So I think with that, so we have a mindset of like, like when you're using fridge, radio, TV, so like this consume a lot of, so we always cut that and we prefer using electricity just for lighting. So now with food, so we are Africans, so pap, so that's our typical food we have. So now the tricky part like is now when it comes to relish. So relish we keep on buying every day because like a lot of people don't have fridges. So whereby you buy whatever you're gonna cook in the afternoon, so you cook it once. So in the evening again you have to go buy. So I think I still have to pursue my dream. I have to finish my studies. Don't believe whatever you see in the news. Yeah, so there are really people suffering. So especially when it comes to township. So people are really going through a lot. So especially here in Windhoek, if you happen to find yourself like in the township, it's really hard. So only the strongest can survive like in that situation.
While Kali's life is not representative of everyone, obviously, his story is also not a headline. On the other hand, it's not an exception. It is one way or one perspective of living within the systems that shape urban life. This is not just in Windhoek, but in many other cities across the world. When we talk about cities, normally we base this conversation off of research, which often speaks in numbers and deficits. Limited access to services, limited access to housing, infrastructure, and of course, this translates into water, energy, and food. But lived experiences show something more complex. They show resilience, adaptation, decision-making, all within the limits and possibilities of the city. When 230 million people in sub-Saharan Africa live in informal settlements, the question is not whether these lives matter enough to belong to the global development debates, but rather how often these stories are truly heard. On a scale of 1 to 10, like overall, how happy are you?
So
Tricky?
I would say, 9 out of 10. So whereby I'm self-dependent. So and it also makes me feel good that I'm also trying to help my family. So yeah, all in all, I think I'm happy. 9 out of 10, I'll rate that myself.
If you're watching this from Germany, Europe, Tanzania, Africa, the United States of America, or Canada, or elsewhere, that is to say, I invite you to do 3 things. The first thing is listen to these stories without judgment, prejudice, bias, or assumptions. And second, ask yourself how water, energy, and food are reported in policies, media, but perhaps also holiday marketing brochures. And then consider whose lives and whose experiences are missing in those conversations. And third, I invite you to stay with me and grow with me, learn with me as we try to understand global challenges, which obviously takes understanding everyday life to fully grasp the picture. So stick around and stay with me within our space, Nexus Midvlogs. Take care and see you on the next one.